If someone in the 1970s would write you a letter and ask you, what is the fastest way to develop magical powers? What would you tell him?
Okay, that's a really great question. The easiest way, well, not the easiest way, but the fastest way to do this is through a body centric approach. So, in a body centric approach, what you're going to want to do is use a physical training modality to reinforce the flow through and generation of magical power. So, what I would recommend is I would have somebody start to do the rebounding exercises where you take the weight of another individual onto you and you throw them. Why do you want to do this? Well, it's the fastest way I've found to develop the soft tissues, the fascia of this kind of thing in the human body. Now, while you're doing this, you're also going to want to run the mother letters from Franz Barton's Kabbalah or from letter magic. This is elemental fire, elemental air, elemental water, elemental earth. Why? As the base forces in reality, by training the soft tissue under a load and generating these forces at the same time, it not only allows the force to penetrate the body very deeply, but most importantly, from a magical development standpoint, it allows for a rapid development of the tissue in the body that allows you to transmit this kind of power. So the rebounding exercises combined with practice of the mother letters or the elemental letters of letter magic or Franz Barton's Kabbalah would be the first stage. And honestly, I'd probably have people do this for probably at least 60 days, maybe 90 is more realistic. Ideally, 2 to 3 hours a day, maybe even 180 days. Now, the reason why I say this is I had a student who came to me several years ago now. No magical background of any kind, unlike a lot of people who show up learning these kinds of lessons. He transformed himself over the period of a year by just doing these rebounding exercises while generating the power of the elemental letters for a couple hours a day. Now, he did this by going to Africa, hiring a bunch of Maasai warriors, and practicing this on a beach. He transformed himself physically and magically during this time. He went from someone who had very little clairsentience or subtle sense of touch, no clairvoyance and no clairaudience, to somebody who was actually quite advanced. He is now, after about 4 years of active practice, better than I am after 30 years of active practice. Now, I have more experience and depth of practice, obviously, because I've been doing it long. But he managed to accomplish in about 3 years what took me 30. So if you want magical power quickly, or magical ability quickly, the rebounding exercises combined with working with the elemental letters is the fastest way to do that.
And what would you say is the safest way to reach personal Akasha and non dual light?
Well, the safest, and quite frankly, in many ways, the easiest, is using the elemental letters, the elemental forces, to establish equilibrium in the body. That's fire in the head, air in the chest, water in the abdomen, earth in the legs. If you just establish this over and over again, several times a day, for several weeks, I've seen people do it in as little as 6 weeks. Now, this is versus using things like the orbits or some kind of Kundalini yoga or some other more explosive methods. It results in a very gentle but spontaneous opening to Akasha. Once you have access to your own Akasha, then all you need to do is do the single pointed focus exercises. You start with watching of thoughts. You move into single pointed focus. Then you work on emptiness. And then, most importantly, because that emptiness is another form of Akasha, by the way, you do the merge with light exercises where you break through to non dual light. I have seen people do this in a matter of weeks. Now, that's also different from having a comprehensive magician's toolkit. There are about 60 some odd, 70 some odd skills involved in that. And that will take a while to develop, particularly when it comes to generating your own clairvoyance and clairaudience. But the safest way to generate Akasha, and quite possibly the quickest as well, is through generating elemental equilibrium using the mother letters or the elemental letters in letter magic.